Yo, it's the Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans. This is the Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans.
Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans.
All right, guys, you're watching the Frickin' Frack Show podcast for the
fans by the fans.
My man.
Woo!
What's up? What's happening, fellas? What's happening? We got a special episode in the house tonight. You know, we got Charlton in the house, man, to help us bring in this this final 2 weeks of the year, man. It's exciting. How's everything on your guys' neck of the woods?
It's cold.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cold. I do agree with that, man. It's been a cold 2 days, man. It's been in like the 40s, and my back is hurting really bad.
And the 40s, I'm talking December, January time. Check it out. It's going to get to like 4 and 5 degrees. We're going to wake up. It's going to be like -10. It's brutal here in central USA.
I couldn't deal with that.
I just give you something to look forward to heading into this Christmas week, man. First of all, everybody, let us know where you're dropping in from. Everybody have a great Christmas this weekend. Be safe. Do everything you can. Caleb, Charlton, you guys got plans?
Nope.
Family, and then catching Matrix 4 with Caleb. You know, I got to catch my movie every time I'm in Morgan City. So, you know,
that's
what
true.
we do.
It's you know, everybody's we're all about 90s and 2000s, and the Matrix is so fitting. It's amazing that I feel like it's a true Christmas gift for me because I'm such a huge fan of the Matrix, and the Matrix Resurrection is being released this weekend on HBO Max and cinemas, and so it's an exciting time for Matrix fans, man.
Yeah, no, that's I might just binge it from start to finish with the kids because the kids have never seen it, which would tie perfectly in to our second guest for episode 70. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jerry Milani joining us in the house tonight. What's up,
Jerry?
my man?
Let's see.
Guys, how are you today?
Good, buddy. Good. Thank you for coming on, man. And on short notice, too. You and Caleb linked up not too long ago, and you were happy to come on. So thank you for that.
I don't have a whole lot going on, so here I am.
We're honored.
I got nothing better to do.
Right. You know, hang out for an hour, talk about cool stuff like putting on celebrity events and actually, technically, what I would label it is making people happy. You know, I don't think there's sad people at your events. Everybody's happy with big smiles on their faces.
I mean, that's one of the best things about it. Our shows, and look, I'm going to slip into saying Wizard World sometimes because I'm 12 years with Wizard World and 12 minutes with FanExpo. But the idea is the same. And that's one of the things that's so attractive about the FanExpo connection now with Wizard World moving over and all of our shows moving over there is it's the same concept. It's people going to celebrate the things they love with other people who love the same things. And that can be any of the things that we're going to be talking about today, or that when you read about it, or when you talk about it, or when you experience it, it can be because you like the same celebrities, or it could be because you like Dungeons and Dragons, or you like certain kinds of movies, or you like cosplay, whatever it is that you love. There's 1,000 other people who love the exact same thing. And that's what our shows are all about, is having fun and enjoying that.
Man.
Right.
The meaning behind that's we need more of that in this world. So time out. Let's go back and let's dig into the history of the man that just made that incredible statement. So what is it exactly that your title is? What do you do, and how'd you become what you do today?
Well, the title is Public Relations Manager. That's always kind of been the title when I was at Wizard World, and my background is in public relations, mostly in sports. And I kind of eased into or moved into the entertainment side, which when you think about it, sports is entertainment. Entertainment is sports. So whatever areas that I may have gotten into in the sports thing translated perfectly. So I was working with a group called the International Fight League, which was a mixed martial arts organization in the 2006 to 2008 period that was a team-based mixed martial arts league. So a lot of us had come from the sports world in other areas and got together, and the group had been formed for this international fight league, which we had teams in New York and Chicago and just different places, San Francisco, different places where the main trainers were, and basically the teams in their dojos, they put together teams and we would compete in different locations. We had a contract with My Network TV when it first really got going. It was an outshoot of Fox, and we had a 23-week run of 2-hour shows every Mondays that reran on Saturdays. So we had the first live network TV broadcast of MMA back when we had our championships one of the years. So it was really something that, even though it only lasted a couple of years, and it was, in some ways ahead of its time, and in some ways, we were behind things, and UFC really kind of dominated the landscape. But it's 2 years I wouldn't trade, even knowing that it only lasted 2 years. If you say, well, we're going to start it again, it's going to be exactly the same, but it's only going to last 2 years. Do you want to do it? Both feet in. Totally enjoyed it. Wasn't a mixed martial arts fan, but I started meeting some of these athletes and started to get to know them. And, for a public relations person, a good story is a good story. Whether it's an athlete from a pro mixed martial arts league like that, or from a small college, or from playing for the New York Yankees, and everything in between. So, and that's the same thing in entertainment. If you have a good story, that's what media wants. That's what my job is, to kind of get those stories out there and show it in the best light for the client, but also make that connection. My job is making connections, right? Between media, what story you're looking for, and public relations for client. What story do I have? How do they match up? Who's the best person to get this story to tell our story the best, but also to make it work the best for them. And so that when the league folded, Gareb Sheamus, who had run Wizard Entertainment, was at the same time had been running the International Fight League. When the Fight League went away, he had the Wizard World shows, and I started working a couple of them. And next thing you know, one show became 5, became 150 that I did over time. So between 2009 and at least that number, I go back. We had a couple of years we were doing, 15, 20. One year we did almost 25 shows in a calendar year. So we grew from when I started there in 2009, we were doing 4 shows to a high of that many. And that meant, I did have an assistant for a little while, Abby Ferguson, who, if I didn't have her, would have never been able to do that. So she took some of the shows, and she was based on the West Coast and I was on the East Coast. So she got stuck with, San Jose and Sacramento. And so she got some of the ones that maybe weren't my favorites to have to travel across the country for. But, and then we would combine and do some of the shows. But anyway, so I did, that many of those. And even though that wasn't my background, I was really more in sports. So much of it translated, and I'm not necessarily a comics fan or a sci-fi fan, but I'm definitely a pop culture fan. So for me, so many of the guests and so much of what happens at our shows are things that are up my alley, and that's part of what our show is you don't have to be a fan of any particular kind of movie or sci-fi or comics or gaming or video gaming or table gaming. You can like any of those or some of those and have an absolute blast at our events.
Yeah. I mean, so like we're seeing more like musicians go to these things, and I mean, from all spectrum. So you kind of came up with the time of, hey, internet and social media can be used to reach the masses. How did your job change once that kind of kicked in?
It's just another outlet. It's a double-edged sword. In some ways, it's great that there's 1,000 outlets that cover what we do. And some of them are local and some of them are national. Some of them are podcasts like you guys who've been running for a while and doing, developing and getting a show going. And some are small little entities in markets, but they hit the right demographic or they hit the right people that are important for us. Whether we're talking about a Comic-Con event or a FanExpo event in New Orleans, or whether I'm talking about a box lacrosse player for the National Lacrosse League, or for Stratomatic Baseball, the baseball table game that I played as a youth and now I'm working for them. as a client, which is
That's
amazing, right? You play this game when you grow up, and I have my dice, I still have everything on my table and everything, and all of a sudden I'm working for them. What do you, Lou Ferrigno, I can call him on the phone. What is that? That's crazy.
Oh man, throwing out that name,
right? It's like you have these. You grow up in a certain way, or you grow up liking certain things, and you get to meet some of these folks and get to experience that. But whatever it is, any of those things, whether it's in the sports world or the entertainment world, and it's matching up that great story with whichever that entity is. And if it's social media, well, that just gives us more opportunities. And the double-edged side of it is, well, you can't just get 3 great stories and hit the whole masses, right? Yeah. We're so fragmented now that in the old days, if you had your story appear in Associated Press or on the Today Show, well, you were done for the day, right? You got everything you needed. Everyone saw that. Now everyone doesn't see that. You've got to work a little harder, but the opportunities are there. And, for me, I'd rather spend an hour doing a podcast here than not have something to do that's benefiting, our event. So it's been mostly, I'd say, 3/4 good and 1/4 the extra challenge of everything being segmented.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think right now you're right. The more you can do, the more you're going to reach. I mean, and different types of podcasts too. You came on, you said, hey, I'm a fan of pop culture. That's what this is all about. Is recreating that love of that moment in time, right? I mean, that's kind of what TV and music, and it kind of stops for a moment in time and maybe takes a break from reality. Speaking of that, I want you to take us back to the first time you worked an event, the first time you were out there at a con or an expo, and kind of, walk us through that day and what that looked like for you.
Well, in 2009, I started working for Wizard World at the show. But in 2006, when I was working for the International Fight League, since it was run by Garib and he was also running Wizard World, we set up a ring right in the middle of the hall. So, and I had never been to a Comic-Con before, so I only knew a little about what the Comic-Con was. But Kevin Smith was at this event. Lou Ferrigno was at this event. Like, this was an event that, was a regular big, Chicago, Wizard World Chicago, 2006. We set up a ring, though, right in the middle, and we brought about 12 of our top fighters. We brought all the coaches. And it was a chance for me. It was my second day on the job at the International Fight League, actually. First day was in the office in New York. Second day I was on a plane flying to Chicago. We brought the guys from the Des Moines team, which was Pat Militich's team. So we brought Pat and Rory Markham and some of those guys who Bart Palashevsky, who were on that team, who were some of the bigger names. We went to a Cubs game. And we went down on the field before the game. Ryan Terrio, who was a player for the Cubs, he was just kind of coming up. Nobody really knew who he was yet. I know who he was because I'm a baseball nerd. But Ryan Terrio comes over and starts talking to the guys and how he likes it. And the guys are talking to him. And we stayed for a couple innings. And then we went to Wizard World and we set up a ring right in the middle. And all day we had kind of grappling going on. We had interviews with the fighters and with the coaches. And so I was working the media side, but it was, I think, a little bit unnerving for people who'd never seen it before, who came dressed up as Spider-Man, and all of a sudden they look in. So we took some photos of the fighters with the Spider-Man, and we just kind of had some fun with it. And so my first Wizard World was actually not as part of the show, but as part of, a side part of the show. Yeah. And then 2009 was the first show that I worked that I was actually working for Wizard World. We did an event in New York. Now, it's not New York Comic-Con. New York Comic-Con is Reed Pop. They had that huge, amazing, awesome event that everybody loves at the Javits every year. Wizard World, at that point, we did a show in New York. We did it on Pier 92, which is all the way up on the west side. It's probably it's up even past the Intrepid. It's up way up there. But it's kind of almost an abandoned pier. It's not really used as a pier anymore, but it's a big space that worked as a event space. If you didn't mind it being cold and clammy and raining outside and raining inside. Yeah, it wasn't an ideal location, but we did have a ton of celebrities at that. We probably had 100 celebrities at that. Cool. The first one I ever worked, we had celebrities that would never, they were in New York, or we brought them into New York. We're going to have a big extravaganza, and we did. And it was a great time. We had Adam West was there, and Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar.
Come on.
I can't even remember how many people. There were so many celebrities there at that event. I have to go back and look at my records to kind of remember that one. But that was the first one I worked as a Wizard World employee. And so we had a ton of fun with it. And like I said, 150 shows and 12 plus years later, here we are, trying to reinvigorate the industry that, we've lost so much over the past 2 years. Momentum, and shows have gone away that are never coming back. Yeah. And parts of our events are, Wizard World has gone away and is never coming back. So that's another, we're fortunate that 6 of our shows have moved over to the FanExpo umbrella, and that some of my friends who work on the Wizard World shows for years have moved over with me, which is great. So that, we'll have some of that continuity. But in the other respect, it's what are the things we can still do to make the show as great as it's always been under these kind of new conditions and the new normal in our world.
So when it comes down to, what you love doing, what's the biggest joy of doing these things?
I love these shows because when fans come to the shows, not only is it that fans are happy and they're having a good time, but they're meeting other people who love the same things they love. So to me, like I said before, it could be the celebrities, and for a lot of people, that's the attraction, is going in. Anthony Mackie's going to be there, and William Shatner's going to be there, and all these celebrities, and Michael Rooker, who are going to be at the events. Yeah. For me, though, it's the people when they're waiting online for Anthony Mackie because he's coming over to photo ops and he's going to be back, and they're all on, and some of them are dressed as Captain America, and some of them are just fans of other parts, and they're going to talk and they're going to meet each other, and we learn so many stories over my time at Wizard World and now moving into FanExpo of people who've just become lifelong friends because they were online, or they're in a panel, or they were at a convention and met each other, and maybe they were friends before online, and it just brings that world to life. We used to say we bring pop culture to life, and that's kind of what these shows do. And it's just like if you're a big baseball fan and you go to a Yankees game or a Cubs game or whatever, or a basketball fan, you go to a Pelicans game, you're among your people, you're with your people, right? And that's same thing with Wizard World. And I've always been intrigued that I have my friends in my own circle are mostly sports fans, and then there's a couple guys who are fans of the FanExpos and the Wizard Worlds and the Comic-Cons. It's kind of like the Venn diagram. It feels like the same people, but they're not the same people. It's like the same demographic, but mostly not the same. But the passion is the same. I remember I remember this very vividly when this finally clicked with me. We were in Philadelphia. It must have been 2010 or probably 2010. Probably my first Philadelphia show. And I'm at my booth and I'm working, and there's a group of kids sitting next to me. They might be like 18, 17. They're like that. And they're sitting on the rug, and they're like, they've got trading cards, or they've got something, and they're discussing. They're having a discussion about Spider-Man and Superman and who's got better powers and who's a better superhero. And I'm thinking, you know what? Wow. My friends sit in the corner and we argue, is Willie Mays better than Mickey Mantle? Who was the best player back then? Or is Don Mattingly better than Keith Hernandez? Or all these same argument, just a different topic. It's the same passion when you go to a baseball game or a football game and you cheer for your team as the passion that the folks who love the Comic-Cons and the pop culture world have for the things that they love. And look, some of it crosses over, like, those that I like, maybe they're not the same ones as but I'll talk all day about how much I love something like Schitt's Creek or Hawaii Five. The original Hawaii Five-O is my favorite show of all time. And we've had a couple of guests that have come by. There aren't that many left from the original Hawaii Five-O who were ever even on it. But we've been lucky that a few of them have popped in, and every single one who popped on to our show, I made sure to go over and say, yeah, I remember you from whatever. But that episode of Hawaii Five-O, you were great. So there's Richard Anderson and there's James Hong. That I got to meet a few people that were in the original Five-O.
Wow, man. Definitely jealous about that. But it's really cool because you have the ability to meet these meet the people that we dream of meeting, right? And this podcast is the same way. People tell us that all the time. The people we bring on is the people they dream of meeting, and possibly might, possibly not, but it's incredible to see that you're actually doing something like this, because I'm an avid comic con goer. I've been to Wizard World, I think 3 years. The last three I guess the last three that's happened in New Orleans, and I go to different cons in Houston and everything else, but there's nothing like it. For those who haven't been to a convention, like I'll call you out, Matt. Like, Matt is just wants to go, and I'm like, once you experience it, it's like an addiction, because there's nothing like getting together, like you said, with people, with fellow peers who talk about Batman versus Superman for hours and hours, just sitting down with people.
Yeah,
and we try to make it where, and it's continuing through into FanExpo. One thing I've noticed about this is that FanExpo is as similar to what our shows were as I think any of the conventions out there, which is
awesome.
Really makes me feel good, because and we were able to do one more show under the Wizard World banner. So in August is when everything happened, that it moved over, but we had one show to go in Chicago. And rather than try to force feed it and in 2 months try to change the branding and everything, we're like, let's do one more Wizard World. So we still had all of our stuff on the truck, so we might as well use all the signage and everything we had in the truck. But we got to do one more Wizard World. And for those of us who were with it a long time, it was obviously very bittersweet. And it was Chicago, which is our original show, 1998. So it was since we didn't do 2021, it was the 23rd show. And it'll continue as FanExpo Chicago, but we got to do one more Wizard World Chicago, which was great. But I mean, at the end of the show, we're packing up the big W's for the last time. But the good part to me is that tradition and what we did at Wizard World is going to move on. All the great stuff that we did, all the things that you loved about going to the show in New Orleans, you're going to notice they're all still there. We didn't take away any things that I think you're going to have noticed. Oh my God, I missed that. Where's the whatever? Where's the creator stage? It's there. Yeah. Where's the entertainment stage when you first walk in? It's there. Like all the things that we had at the Wizard World show that we innovated, that we thought made for a better experience. Either they were already there at FanExpo, or they're things that they saw in our shows that were like, what, we should keep doing that. We should have that dedicated creative stage. We're going to continue it. So those things are going to still be there. It's just, it's going to be a little bigger. It's going to be a little, I think a little better. I won't know until I haven't been to a FanExpo show myself. I just know I've seen them from afar, and most of the other people who've moved over from Wizard did some of the other shows last year under the FanExpo brand, but they didn't need me to be there, so I didn't go. But from all the plans and all the everything we have, this is going to be Wizard World Plus. I mean, Disney Plus is going to be, and it's FanExpo, and it's under a brand. It's not a new brand. It's a brand that's done tons of big shows for years. Yeah, and dedicated people who really know what they're doing. They just do some things a little differently on the back end, but we adjust to that. I mean, look, if I have 7 different clients, they have 7 different ways of how I report what I'm doing or how I do what I'm doing. So that's that. Now FanExpo is just a little different from Wizard World, but I don't think fans are going to go in there and go, "This is something foreign." It's going to be something familiar. Yeah, there'll be some difference, but I think the things that are different, people are going to really like.
Which, personally, I think the fans are just going to be glad to be going again, because for a while, I mean, especially myself and even Charlton, like, we didn't think we'd be going back to a convention, I mean, just because of the way the world is right now. And personally, I think every single person who's going to be there is just going to be happy that this is going on. This is back again,
Yeah, in either June or July, I forget when it was, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is about 20 minutes from my house. There's a mall there, a big mall, and there's a couple stores that aren't there anymore. And one of them was either an A&S or a Macy's, one of those. Wow. And it hasn't been for a while, but there's a show, Garden State Comic Con or Garden State Comic Fest, one of those, and they held their show there. And it was the first time I'd been, I want to say out of the house, but I've been out of the house a couple of times because my broadcasting world, I got to work some basketball games and some baseball games and stuff, but I hadn't been at an event where I was attending, I just went and bought a ticket. I walked around. I saw some people I knew. I spent about 4 hours. You know, it wasn't a big event, but it was an event where what you just said is what that's what it was like. It was people just so happy to be walking around the convention. Some were dressed up, some weren't. It was mostly an artist and comic convention. There were a few lower level celebrities there, but it didn't matter. People were just going and having a great time and enjoying just the fact that they were out of the house, and just the fact they were going to be able to attend something like that they hadn't been able to in a year plus. And that was pretty neat to just get to go do that and spend a few hours there. And there were a few artists and stuff that I knew. There weren't that many people I knew, but it was less for that and more for just going and seeing kind of what the climate was like. You know, grab a few business cards for people, talk about how we're going to be, you know, reviving the Philly show. And we ended up not being able to do the Philly show this year, but we will do it next year. It'll have been 3 years since we did a show in Philly. So that's going to be hard, because we did 2019, but we didn't do 2020. We didn't do 2021. So it'll have been 3 years by the time we go back to Philly. So that'll be a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
So people understand, Caleb and Charlton are going to take the Frick Frack Show on the road down to New Orleans, and they're going to go do the FanExpo event there, January 7th, I believe. But before we get to that and the panelists and what's going into making that happen, you were working an event the day that the world kind of stopped and shut down. Walk us through that day. I believe it was in Ohio.
Yeah, we were in Cleveland. So we have a very successful show in Cleveland that we started, I want to say 2016, 2017. So it's not a long running show, but it was our biggest surprise. It was 1 year that I think it was 2016, that we expanded to the 20 plus shows. And that was our biggest surprise. You never know. You know, we tried a lot of cities in our expansion. We tried some cities that we thought were really going to be big hits, and they just kind of weren't. And some we went back to, some we really didn't. But Cleveland was a huge surprise. The first year we were in Cleveland, we had 7 or 8 inches of snow on Saturday morning. Started in the morning. It was like 4 degrees on Friday when I was out doing press. And then Saturday, that was the best weather we had, because then Saturday it snowed. But people in Cleveland, so we sent out the notices, just come tomorrow. We can use your tickets. Don't have to come. And we had 95% redemption of Saturday tickets on Saturday. So we knew that with this, we hit something big in Cleveland. The center is amazing. It had just opened up, the new center, and we had a really good field. And I had Lou Ferrigno to take around on press. So we went and did like 10 TV stations, radio stations, whatever they have in Cleveland. Lou was on it for 2 days, and it was amazing. Flash forward to 2020 in March. And, you know, think about March in 2020, the very first week of March, we were hearing about this virus. We didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
We said, okay, let's order a whole bunch of the hand sanitizer stations, and we put them out, and we put the notices up. We had a Lou Ferrigno. We had a picture we took of Lou Ferrigno when he's at the Hulk, and we put like a Purell in his hand, and we put signs up all over the place to, you know, wash your hands and you know, be respectful. And we know already that fans at our shows, if you tell them, hey, this is something that's important, you know, stay clean, stay whatever, they're going to do it. Like, there's not going to be a lot of like fighting the man on this. Like, if you say we need to do this because it's important, Comic-Con fans in general understand. And so they were, and we didn't, you know, we ran the show, was pretty much felt like a regular show, except it smelled like hand sanitizer everywhere. Because they were literally every place. It was everywhere. And we didn't even know we just knew that, you know, all we could do is the most we could do. And at the same time, in Ohio, Arnold Schwarzenegger had his big bodybuilding event. And the governor closed that down to fans. No one could go to it. Wow. The same weekend that we were in Cleveland, he was in Columbus, and the governor said, you can't do that. And so we were, you know, on pins and needles on Thursday and Friday, wondering, you know, we were planning everything to do the show. And we explained to people, if you aren't comfortable and you want a refund, let us know. Like, it was all like over above board. There was no like trickeration on anybody's part. The center was right along in lockstep with us, and that made all the difference. Is that they were, we were in meetings every morning with them from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, going over the contingencies, and we were ready to follow whatever the governmental advice was. No one knew on these dates what was going to happen. So we have the show. It was very good. I think there was some folks who just didn't come if they didn't already have a ticket because of the uncertainty. But this was pre-panic. Like this wasn't the April. This was March. April is a very different month than March, I think, in every respect with the pandemic in 2020. So we had our show. Sunday night, we're packing up. We're getting everything away. We didn't have another show scheduled for a couple of months, just the quirk of the schedule. Usually we were pretty consistent every month, but we had 3 quick events in 2020, January, February, March. And then we didn't have another one scheduled until June, Philadelphia, because our St. Louis show moved because the XFL had the building, because we used the same building the Rams used to play in. So we had to move it. So we didn't have a show for a little bit anyway. So we were packing our stuff and got up on Monday morning, got on a plane. And in the time from we left Cleveland and landed in New York or wherever people were going, when I landed in New Jersey, the governor had closed Ohio. Like we were the last thing to happen in Ohio that had anybody at it. There were no Cavaliers games, and I don't think the baseball hadn't started yet there, Columbus or Cleveland. So we were the last thing to happen in the state, and the last major Comic-Con of any kind to happen. It was literally that weekend. So any other events that were that weekend were all the last one to happen. And I came home Monday, and I went shopping just because when I have an event, you probably haven't done shopping. I used all my food and everything, and I didn't know I wasn't going to be able to go shopping in the supermarket again for 3 months. I had no idea. I just bought what I would buy and packed, my house. And next thing, I didn't go to the supermarket again for like 5 months. I mean, I would Instacart or just use whatever I had in my freezer, and go and buy milk at the Quick Check. But it was a weird time for all of us. I remember the show in that we were nervous, but the fans understood, and they agreed. They did the things they had to do to make their time successful and fun. We had a couple of celebs who didn't come out because they were worried, and it was understandable, and nobody got angry at that. And and then April came, and it was clear, and even before that, maybe a week later, it was pretty clear that things were going, the wrong way. We plotted right away. Well, what are we going to do? We're not going to be doing shows. We knew that there was no way we're going to be doing a June show. And we didn't know yet about later in the year. One by one, they started ticking off pretty quick that we weren't doing them. We started doing our Wizard World virtual events. So we pretty quickly pivoted to doing events, and it was almost like this, where we'd have a host and we'd have 3 celebrities, 2, 1, 7. It just depended, and there would be some theme. It might be from a show, it might be just an individual, it might be from a genre. We had the Hallmark movies cast. We had we had all kinds of things. We had all different ones, and basically the panels were free for people to watch. And if you wanted to get some private one-on-one Zoom time, you paid for that. If you wanted to get like a cameo type video, you paid for that. But the basics of it was free for people to watch these panels, and they were 40-45 minutes long, and it kept us going, right? It kept us kind of in the flow of things. It wasn't a huge like money maker or anything like that. It kept the lights on to a degree, but it also kept more importantly than that, it kept people in touch with this world in a time when new movies weren't coming out. There were still movies coming out because they had filmed, but nothing new was being filmed. So we knew at some point that wasn't going to be anymore. There was no live sports, all baseball. As soon as NBA there's that picture of Mark Cuban on the sideline of that game. They happened, whoever the producer was, the director, made sure to have a camera on Mark Cuban at that Mavericks game when he was on the phone and he got the text. And when he got that text that said they're shutting down the NBA, that was when you knew, and that weekend was also the Rudy Gobert weekend where he started touching the microphones when the player, if you guys are familiar, it was just starting and we weren't sure how things were transmitted, and he was kind of making a joke and he went ha ha ha, and he started touching all the microphones. Everybody had all the reporters had their microphones or had their phones, and he touched everybody's, and he tested positive the next day, and it was a big to do, but we knew that we were in serious danger of not being able to have a convention for a long time, and there we were a year and a half later, still no one having had conventions.
Man, I definitely remember that.
Me too. It's scary. We didn't know anything. Nobody knew anything. This was all, and for all we knew, that's exactly when this podcast started. We're like, well, we're going to be bored for a while, and so I can only imagine what other people are going through. Anyways, man, prepping up for this next one. We got you for about another 20 minutes, and I want Charlton to jump in on this too. Prepping for this one in New Orleans. What do you know so far? Who can you tell is going to be there, and how is this going to be set up?
Yeah, it's like I said before, it's going to feel like a Wizard World show. So you're going to walk there, you're going to come in, and there's going to be an entertainment stage where something is going on from 4:00 on Friday till 5:00 on Sunday, nonstop on the entertainment stage. Panel rooms, we're going to have panels going 2-3 panels at a time from 4:00 on Friday to 5:00 on Sunday. So there's always something happening. The creative stage is a separate stage over by the artist alley where you're going to have different creators going up, talking about what they do, doing demonstrations. You're going to have cosplayers all over the place. That's going to be the pro cosplayers, the ones that we have that go show to show, and fans as cosplayers that are just as entertaining most of the time as the cosplayers. There's a cosplay contest on Saturday night, which is huge. We have a couple of special events. Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes are that Jay and Silent Bob, and they're having a separate paid event. Most of all these things I'm talking about are all part of your admission. So you can buy a $27 admission on Friday, and you can go to all the panels on Friday, and you can do all the entertainment stage stuff, and you can meet a lot of celebrities are there on Friday. Usually in Wizard World, there'd be like 5 or 6. It's more like a preview day. And FanExpo doesn't really treat Friday as a preview day. They treat
that's cool.
Friday as a day, right? And that's William Shatner is there on Friday, right? I mean, Jay Hughes is there on Friday. Ryan Hurst is there on Friday. Like all of the Star Trek Next Generation people are there. For Javicia Leslie, Batwoman, she's there on all 3 days. She's there on Friday. Jesse T. Usher from The Boys is there on Friday. So there's all these celebrities. So you're going to look at this list and you're going to see some that you're familiar with at Wizard. Yeah, Michael Rooker and Stephen Amell and John Merriman. They've been at Wizard World shows. Jesse T. Usher was never at a Wizard World show. Javicia Leslie was never at a Wizard World show. Catherine Tate, Doctor Who. Yeah. I know we've had Doctor Who guests. Cool. I don't think Alexander Ludwig. I don't think he's been at a show. So you're going to have this mix of celebrities who you've seen before, but not in a while because we haven't had a show in a while, and ones you've never seen. Ming-Na Wen from Mandalorian. Now, some of that is because these shows have now become much more popular 2 years later. Than they were then. But and Anthony Mackie has been to our shows before, but man, we knew him when, right? Now he's Captain America.
I know.
And one of the nicest guys you're going to meet. I mean,
that's what I've heard.
Nice guy.
I've always heard about that.
One thing about these shows, whether it's FanExpo or Wizard World or any of the others, is the celebrities that come to these shows, they want to meet people. Like, I know they're making money, and maybe they're making a lot of money on it, but it's hard. It's not an easy money. You know what would be easy money? Is for them to go in a room somewhere where no one is and have people send them stuff to sign, smile, and send it back.
I love that you say that. I love that.
This is not easy. Continue. They have to be on. They're on all day. So if they didn't have their coffee, or they're having something going on at home, or the flight was late, or any reason, You know, they're away from home. A lot of our celebrities work all week on shows. And then, you know, Michael Rooker works all week on whatever of 5 different projects he's doing. And then he flies in on Saturday morning or Friday night, and he's on. And when I say Michael Rooker is on,
he's always on.
Never off.
Yeah.
But he is on, right?
Yep.
That's not easy. That's hard. So in order to do this, they have to, and they've all done these before. They know what it is. And Thomas Ian Nicholas used to say it best. He would say, people would say, why do you do these shows? He's like, because I stand at my desk and people come up all day and tell me how much they love me and they love my movies. And they love who would want to have someone come up all day telling you how much no one goes up to Ron Perlman and says, man, I hated you in Sons of Anarchy. They would never do that. You would never. I mean, why would you ever do that? But anyway, but like these folks, so for them, they're getting a kind of feedback that they don't get on a movie set or on a TV set.
That's true.
But at the same time, I respect what they do because it's hard. And then for ones that it's not really for, and we've had plenty of them that just this isn't for them. And that's okay. They come, they try it once, and then they don't, you know, they probably, most of the time it's them just saying they don't want to do it again. And that's okay. We want to, you know, we want to test as many. If you wanted, they wanted to try basically as a celebrity that had name, we wanted to give them the opportunity. And then most of the time it's worked out great. And sometimes it's just, but now we've gotten to the point where you're going to look at this list and you're not going to see anyone on here who you're not going to want to like go.
It's true.
And
100%.
There's no one on here that I look at and say, ugh, you know, those people are all, because they don't come any, they don't, or for me, if there's someone who doesn't do any press, I probably don't even go up and meet them or see them. So that's fine with me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is.
I'll take Lou Ferrigno all day. Lou Ferrigno. Let me tell you about Lou Ferrigno.
Yes, please.
So Lou Ferrigno. I will take. You know, Lou's thing is he's not at this show, but he was in Chicago. Lou will come in on Wednesday. I'll fly in on Wednesday, and I will set a schedule for him for Thursday and for Friday morning. And Lou doesn't look at the schedule and go yes, yes, no, yes, no. Lou says, "Send me the schedule." And then I send him the schedule, and he says, "I'll see you at 6 a.m. in the lobby." And at 6 a.m., I meet Lou in the lobby. The car comes, and we go all damn day on Thursday and all damn morning on Friday to every TV station, to every radio station. He never says no. Now, for Lou, he gets that if he goes on the local ABC affiliate or the local Fox affiliate or whatever, and he's talking about being in New Orleans or being in Chicago or being whatever city he's in, those people might have never heard of Comic-Con. They don't know what it is.
That's true.
They don't know what a Wizard World or a FanExpo is, but there's the Hulk on my screen in studio on the show that I watch every day. What's Lou doing in New Orleans? Oh, and then they'll put it on the screen. But even if they don't, I got to meet the Hulk. I got to meet, you know, and then he'll talk about everyone else who's coming. William Shatner's coming. I mean, William Shatner's 90.
Yeah, he just went to space.
He's not going to do Wizard World, and he's not going to do FanExpo shows for 20 more years, right?
Yep.
He might actually. I shouldn't say that. He might.
Yeah, I mean, from the way
the
way he looked, from the way he's going. I mean, going to space. I mean,
he was in space on Thursday and in Chicago on Sunday.
That's right.
For us.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's, you know, that's commitment. Like, and it's got delayed. So if he would have like landed and said, you know, guys, I was just in space. I don't think I can make it to Chicago on Saturday. No one would have said anything, but Saturday morning, doors open. Boom.
Wow.
There's Captain Kirk.
Crazy.
The ones that have to be tough are the ones that, like you said, hey, they came, we realized it wasn't for them. But there's got to be some times where, you know, there's multiple years and you're like, okay, hey, man, like, we get it. You know, this people thing can't be for everybody. But for your guys' audience and demographic, it is a lot of face-to-face and the I love yous and thank you for doing what you've done for so many years. I mean, people like, you're going to have Stephen Amell on, right? And he's done podcasts and radio where he's like, all right, hey, I haven't been Oliver Queen for all of 6 minutes. Let me try these different roles, knowing dang well his line is full with people in cosplay of Arrow in the suit, looking like Robin Hood. He's got to be one of the best people to work with because he's business oriented, you know?
Well, a lot of the celebrities like him and like Adam West is a good example. And Lou Ferrigno is a great example. They embraced that one big role in their world. Like Adam West was in 100 movies.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know he was in 100 movies because Adam West is Batman and Adam West is Mayor Adam West. Those are the two things. I met Adam was at that New York show that we did in 2009 or the next year, 2010, one of the 2 years. I think it was 2009. And I met him at his hotel. We were going down to WCBS radio and a big radio station in New York. And it was him and we're going to have Burt Ward also. We're going together. So I got to the hotel. Adam comes down. He comes out of the elevator. There's a kid. It was early in the morning. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning because we're going to do an early show. And there's a kid working, I don't know, cleaning, or he couldn't have been more than like 18 or 19 years old. Adam comes out and he starts talking. And the kid turns around and goes, Mayor Adam West. here's Batman, right? And this kid is like 18. And Adam was like, you know what? There's a whole generation that knows me for that. They never heard, they never saw the old Batman. They only know the new Batman, or maybe they know, the one from the 90s, but they really they didn't see the old campy one, or they never heard of it, or they don't even know. But Mayor Adam West is funny. Even if you don't know who Adam West is, like as on the show, it's funny. But then this kid knew him, and he's like, they know me for that. It's all, and it's all good. And Lou Ferrigno's the same way. He's like, why would I not want to embrace the Hulk? Like the Hulk is part of him. It's his story, Lou's story of being picked on as a kid because he had hearing loss and imagining himself as the Hulk. Imagine imagining yourself when you're 7 as the Hulk, and one day you're flipping a car over in the pilot episode, and he, as the Hulk with the green paint and the whole thing, and he never gets tired of how long did it take to get in the paint. Like he never gets tired of that. Wow. He's at the show, and he must have answered that question 74,000 times in his life, but he answers it like it's the first time he's heard it.
Wow.
To people, because he knows that for them, the experience of meeting him is maybe it's once in a lifetime. Maybe he's inspired them. So Lou is at the very top for me of what a Comic-Con guest, what a FanExpo guest, what a Wizard World guest should be. And for me, as the public relations guy, I like all the celebrities, but I really like the ones who do press for me.
Me too. It's so funny because I had a couple run-ins with Lou over the years at these different conventions, but I remember I had a 1 second conversation with the guy when he was walking through the crowd, and and I was like, "Hey, Lou," and he said, "Hello." But you know what? I can definitely attest to what you're saying. Just from watching, I went to maybe 2 or 3 different panels with Lou. But also seeing his interaction with people while waiting in lines and stuff, I can definitely tell you, he's 100% what you're saying he is, the kind of person he is, at least.
Yeah, and to me, my job as the PR guy is to get attention for the show. And how do I get attention for the show? Like sometimes it's through a great, other story, a comic artist, or some other element of the show that we can do, but 82% of the time it's some celebrity connection, whether it's an advanced interview that someone does, or a phone, or on the radio, or on site. A lot of times the morning show will come out and do, they'll come at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'll meet them there, and they'll from 5:20 to 8 o'clock, they'll cut in with 8 different segments. And one of them will be, with cosplayers, and one of them will be with an artist, and one of them will be with the Batmobile. And, a couple of them have to be with celebrities to make that thing work, to make it as a thing. So I've got to get somebody's got to get up for me at 7 o'clock in the morning and come down from the hotel and be fresh and be on and be ready. It's not just rolling out and going, hi, I'm Matt Damon, moving on. It's, you got to be those folks, and sometimes it's been Michael Rooker who's gotten up and done the early show for me. And sometimes it's been different, get somebody like that with the gravitas of a Lou Ferrigno or a Michael Rooker who'll get up and do an early morning show for you. That'll, Anthony Mackie has done that. And those guys who do that, that score high in my book. And, the ones who don't or won't or, can't. Sometimes they can't. And it's, we understand that there's some restrictions put on them by studios and stuff, but most of the time it's they don't want to get up.
Yeah, press, man. It's got to be tough dealing with that. Charlton, I want to ask you, man. You're going to be heading out with Caleb to this FanExpo event in January 7th and 8th, I believe. What's your experience with cons like, man? I know you and Caleb have been, and it's kind of like what Jerry was saying. You've got two separate whole people that make it work. And that's kind of what this show is. We're all kind of different from each other. I want to know what your Comic-Con experiences are like.
I mean, for me, it's like, I used to like going to New Orleans all the time, man. It's all about the people watching. That's the number one thing for me. We just go, Caleb and I would just go together and be like, oh, that's, such and such. Oh, that's somebody else. Or they'd see me and be like, oh, that dude has a really tight Warriors vest. And I will be rocking the Warriors vest. So
the only person, by the way, the only person. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But no, man, last time we went, they had Austin St. John, and I got to talk to him for like 15 minutes about Taekwondo and told him a few things about my experiences with that, and we talked a little Korean. I know a little Korean, a little bit, but not too much. But it was great, man. And he would tell me stuff like we had to speak Korean the whole practice for the whole training session. If not, we get hit with a kendo stick, take your lick, but luckily I never had that. I don't know if I'd have to bite my tongue and control my temper or whatever if I got hit with a kendo stick, but it's a great time, man. I'm I'm really looking forward to seeing Christina Ricci. I absolutely love Casper. That was my favorite movie as a kid. That and the original Ninja Turtles, and I got Caleb hooked on The Boys.
Oh yeah, which, my goodness,
so good.
I lost my mind when I first saw that first season, and I'm dying to see Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy.
So we did, Charlton. I don't know if you saw. We did a virtual experience with several of the stars from The Boys.
I did not see that.
Last year.
Nice.
All right, so you can go back if you go to YouTube and go to the Wizard World YouTube page and look back in the videos. You can do a search for The Boys, and we did at least one. We might have done two. Man. Now that I think about it, I didn't host that panel. I probably did the tech, because if I wasn't hosting, I was doing the tech in the background. And it was a very popular panel. It was 3 or 4 of the stars that were on it, and just shooting it about the behind the scenes and everything. It was great. It was a great panel.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I told Caleb, I said, man, one of Carl Urban's first roles, he played Cupid on Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. Can you believe that? I can't even imagine that dude as Cupid. Like, what the heck?
No.
But man, it's been a great time with Wizard World, and I'm looking forward to the FanExpo. I'm sure it'll be just as great or even better. So
yeah, you guys are gonna
wear a mask.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Bring your vax card. It's not required by the state yet, I guess, or the center, but it is by us.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go that one extra, just like we did in Cleveland the last time we did the show in Cleveland. No one knew, but we went the extra step of having the sanitizer, and in Chicago it was mask. It wasn't vax mandate yet, because the vax hadn't been as widespread as it was now and available. but now anyone obviously who wanted to get it has gotten it or could get it. So we are requiring that, for the show. But we understand, that it's the next kind of hassle to have to deal with. But a lot of us are old enough to remember the year 2000 when you could basically the first person you'd see when you got to the airline if you didn't have a bag to check is the gate check person, because you literally would walk. You would get out of your car or the whatever, and you would walk in and you would walk all the way up to the gate. And the first person you'd interact with was the gate check agent to check in with your ticket. And now, obviously, that's very different. So, we know that the world is different than it was 2 years ago, the last time we were doing a full boat show. And then when we finally got to do Chicago, it still felt to us like a Wizard World. It felt like a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing is we want people to come in for, a few hours each day for 3 days, just kind of escape to the Comic-Con world, to the FanExpo world that we think, is going to feel like it did. And look, we're going to have to go home later and you're going to have to whatever, but you always have to do that anyway. So
definitely
come and enjoy. And I think that all the things we've tried to put together for this show to make it really memorable in our return, it's been 2 years. So I'm looking forward to some po' boys and some
me too,
and some oysters and the whole deal. New Orleans is one of my favorite stops for sure.
And it's so funny because it's everybody's favorite stop, but one of the worst stops because it's like, all right, so what do I need to eat? And you just basically, it's like, give a long list that falls to the floor. And I'm like, don't leave New Orleans until you have every single item. And they're like, what's the difference between gumbo and etouffee? Try it, go eat it, go eat both, like no questions. And, but that's just the beauty about being in New Orleans, and, we're very excited, Jerry. We're very excited to have this opportunity and to be there. And, Charlton and I, we like to spend hours, hours and hours at cons. We don't like to just do an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours. We'll probably be there from start to finish and maybe go end up going to see Jay and Silent Bob's panel, after thing as well, because, stuff like that, like it's not very often you have opportunities like that. And, it's very exciting though, man. I think, everything that you have going for this is going to be an incredible weekend. The celebrity list, as you said, it's pretty jaw dropping. I mean, it's like, you guys took a little piece of what, individuals love in this world and you just made it into one place. And, that's so appealing to a lot of people. Like you said, a lot of people go for the celebrities but we're just very excited to be there. And, you'll see Charlton and super, super tall guy with a Warriors jacket, just peeping, not being peeping Tom, but like, but like, just looking
we don't
around.
allow that kind of thing. No.
Yeah, Charlton, you hear that?
Highly disturbed.
But it's going to be a great time, Jerry. We're super excited that you guys are coming back to New Orleans. Truthfully, for Louisiana people like us, it means a lot to us that we don't have to go to Houston to go to a convention, which is what we just did not too long ago. And we're like an hour from New Orleans. So to be able to go to a convention from an hour away is far greater and exciting, because that means we can go home after.
Yeah, I'm in Nebraska, so I'm still halfway across from anything. Anything that
how far from St. Louis are you?
About 3.5, 4 hours, I think.
All right, so Wizard or FanExpo St. Louis, you need to come to FanExpo St. Louis.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Please.
That's not bad at all, man.
That's probably the closest. That's the closest one for you, for us.
I'm in.
St. Louis, we do it in the Dome, the America Center, and we've had some really big shows there.
I've always heard
over
that
time.
St. Louis.
Now it's going to be another one we haven't done in 3 years because we didn't do one in 20. So 19 is the last one we did in St. Louis, but
wow.
I think you'll like that. That's a little different for us because it's mostly in the stadium, so it's shaped a little differently. But it's always been a good show for us there.
That sounds like a blast. Actually, I'm going to look that up.
We're marking it down for it.
Let's go. Jerry, I gotta talk to me like I've never been to a Comic-Con before. Can I show up the day of? What am I looking at for a weekend pass? Are there tickets still available? Where can they find them?
Yeah, the best way to do it is to go on FanExpoNewOrleans.com, or if someone's listening and they're in another area, we have 17 shows across North America. So you can go on FanExpoHQ.com and just see where our shows are. Like I just picked St. Louis for you based on where you are, but there are shows all over the country and all over Canada that Fan Expo puts on, or even another Comic-Con. If you have to, you can go to one of the other ones, another company. Your best way is to go online and look at all the options. There's one-day tickets as cheap as $27 to come out on Friday, which is an amazing deal because Friday's a great day and there's all kinds of stuff. Most people buy the 3-day pass, and the reason is it's hard to do everything you want to do in one day.
It is.
If you look at the schedule and there's really only one person you want to see and they're only there on one day or the other, you can probably do what you'd want to do in one day, but every day is different no matter what. The panel programming is different from the time it ends to the time it starts till the time it ends. The creative stage, the costume contest is one night. There's different things happening all the time. So most people do the 3 days. $79 for a 3-day pass is the current. That's the best deal in going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $79 if you go to a Pelicans game, you can't breathe where you're sitting. You have to walk until you stop. And it's great entertainment also, but let's balance it out. For $79, you're getting 20 hours of 3 days and 20 hours and nonstop fun. Or if you need to stop for a little bit and rest, you can go and sit in a panel and rest, or you can go over and get something to eat and rest. So it's not that you have to be, but the option to do something every hour for 20 hours is there. For that same. And then there's the add-ons are things like buying a photo op and buying an autograph and some of those extra events, special events. But family of 4, there's family packages. So the best way is to go on there. But if you decide at the very last minute, hey, I want to go, and you're just going to show up and buy a ticket, you can do that too. Or you can show up and then you can look on your phone and buy the ticket and then show it. Registration's really easy. It's a fun time. If you've never been to one, it's worth going. If you're not sure and the first time you ever want to go to one, you want to just go and you go on Friday. If you're going to pick one day, I would probably pick Saturday. If you're only going to go one day, now that's the busiest day. That's the craziest day. So if you're not sure what you think and you want to just get a taste of it, then you go on Friday, because everything that happens over the show, other than some special events, are happening to some degree on Friday. It's all different on the 3 days, but go and check it out. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to, people think of Comic-Con and it's not even called Comic-Con anymore, right? Most of them aren't called Comic. Got Fan Expo, Wizard World wasn't called Comic-Con, but the spirit of that is still there. If you're a big comics fan or you're that guy, comic book guy, the show has got all those things for you. We haven't gotten rid of any of the things that made the show great. Artists, the list of our artists is unbelievable. And the comic creators that are at the show. But it's that plus. It's these celebrities that, yes, a lot of them are something in the comic world or the sci-fi world or the Marvel universe. And some of them aren't. And some of them, Michael Rooker lives on both ends, right?
Yep.
In the things that he's done. Maybe more recently, the things have tended more toward these kinds of events. But I mean, he was in 8 Men Out. He was the first baseman in 8 Men Out, which is one of my favorite movies. It's mostly a fiction, but it's a great movie. It's a great fictionalized version of a thing. But what a great movie, and what a different character. And he is the opposite of all. He used to play as a mean guy. He's the opposite of that. And that's one thing about the shows is you get this other side of the personality. We think of these celebrities in terms of their roles, and they're not their roles. At least the good ones are able to be different than their world, different than their role. And that's what you learn. It peels the curtain back a little bit, which is kind of the neat part of it. But I think, the best advice I could say is go try one. It's like anything else. Go try it.
Yeah, man. I know everybody that's going to be rewatching this as we talk. Caleb will blast this all over the New Orleans groups and Louisiana groups, and I know you're going to be making somebody's day. Even that's got to be an incredible feeling, knowing that that's probably somebody's once in a lifetime, you know. But we appreciate you taking the time to come on with us and hanging out with us for, you know, over an hour. Like we said, if we did 20 minutes, we wouldn't even get into the meat and potatoes, and that's what we're all about. So from Nebraska, you know, we love it. We love to see it. So we appreciate you, man.
Oh, I'm glad to have time to come on, and yeah, I'm looking forward to being back out on the road and doing these shows again, because as much as I enjoy all the other things, you know, this getting to go see, it's like a reunion, seeing my friends again. You know, whether it's the managers of the, you know, even down to the celebrity managers and the different cosplayers who we see show to show, the vendors that I see show to show. I mean, when I was in Chicago this last time, it was like a reunion. It was honestly, every time you turned around, there was somebody else who I hadn't seen in 18 months. Wow. You know, some of them I'd been in touch with, and some of I hadn't. And it was just like it was like coming home. And that's what New Orleans is going to feel like, I think, for a lot of us who've done these shows that haven't been able to. It's like we're coming home, and hopefully we're going to be able to, you know, come home every 3 or 4 weeks at these events we're going to do throughout the year, and, you know, hope for the best. I think we'll know a lot in the next, I don't know, I guess we'll know a lot in the next month. I mean, our show falls within that time. We have 2 shows. We have Portland 2 weeks after that. So we've got the parallel tracks going. We've only talked about New Orleans here because of the connection, but you know, we've got a big show in Portland that we've got Michael J. Fox and Leah Thompson coming to. In Portland. Man, so we're going from big to big in those two events. So it's going to be something.
Very nicely done, by the way.
Yes.
Just throw those 2 names out there.
Leah Thompson's the only celebrity in Wizard World history that I have ever gotten a photograph with in the photo ops booth.
Oh, come on.
I've gotten some at tables. James Hong. I had to get James Hong. I couldn't let James Hong get away. And I've got Richard Anderson, who's my all-time favorite Wizard World guest from $6 Million Man. Whoa. But she's the only one that I ever made sure I went and got in Philadelphia in 2018 or 6, whatever year she was there. That's the one I got.
Man. Not a bad choice, brother. Not a bad choice. Yep.
Jeez.
All right, guys, fellas, this has been incredible. We'll have another episode out for Christmas Eve or whatever on Thursday for you guys to enjoy all Christmas Day, Christmas weekend. You guys have fun down in New Orleans, and Jerry, we're going to stay in touch, man. We're going to make this happen again. And, you know, I'm glad this friendship has evolved, and, you know, we'll be able to help each other out with these coming events, making people happy. That's what we do.
And I'll meet you in St. Louis.
Let's plan it. Let's plan it.
If only his name was Louis, that would have been really better.
Right? That movie was just on the other day.
Come on.
It's a Christmas movie, me in St. Louis. So it was on, and, you know, whenever that's on, you got to watch it.
You do.
On repeat.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Guys, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you, Charlton. Thank you, Matt, Frick. And we're looking forward to this event, Jerry. Just can't wait to see you, man, and can't wait to see you in person. You know, it's going to be amazing. And once again, just thank you so much for bringing this back to us, to the fans, to the people. And we'll see you in about 2 weeks.
You got it, man. Have a great one, guys.
Stephen Amell, open invitation for the show. This is episode 70 for the fans, by the fans. Let's go.
Hello! It's the Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans, by the fans. This is the Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans, by the fans.
Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans.